Me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
They shouldn't have given you ashy blokes YouTube.
Cursed be the ground for our sake. Both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for us. For out of the ground we were taken, for the dust we are. And to the dust we shall return.
All right, good people. This is me punching the clock. I don't know why this is blown up so high. Okay, we've been talking about this education of black boys forever. Okay, forever. They've been taught. Kwanzaa Kanjufu has been taught about the plight of black boys in education since the mid '80s. 40 years. We talk about this forever. Why is all of a sudden is this such an important topic? That black boys are not going to college in the rates that they think that black boys should go to. They should go, right? I don't get it. But we're here, and I got to go ahead and punch the clock. I got to talk about something. And at this moment, maybe next week we'll talk about something different, because I'm getting tired of talking about black women for this this week, man. It's really a drag, okay? Because we keep repeating the same shit over and over and over again. So either one or two things. Well, the women, they're not going to learn, okay? Whatever reason, they're not going to learn, right? But for the guys, we keep repeating the same shit. To go through the same shit. Do you want these broads or not? And the very guys that say that they're tired of black women and what they do are the same ones that go back to them over and over and over again. Either you're going to accept them for who they are and what they are, or you're going to make a different choice. One thing I like about the Generation Z, man, if they don't like them, they're not picking them. If you're not working for me, we bounce. That's one thing I like about them. Okay, this black male collective guilt is getting on my freaking nerves. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get started. Righty. The dust is flowing. The Dusty Cloud Engineer is batting first. How'd you get to be batting first, sir? Adric's batting second. St. Cyr is on third. He's flying out to Pittsburgh, so I have to catch this on a replay. Okay. All right. To the dust we shall return. Yes, sir. KMS. Vindication. I read your email, man. I read your email. Martin, what's going on? AB, what's happening? So I take it, KMS, you like that rant I did. AL, you get that chirp fix yet, man? Shannon, what's up? Kennard, Lavaris, what's going on? Lavaris is at the Waffle House again. Prince, Hurricane Greg. I'm pretty. No, it's not. It's not. It's actually a response to. What I've had a response to several different people, because AB's going to do something similar tonight. It's actually a response to Dr. Neal's video. By law, by birthright. Okay. R&M, what's going on? Eddie, what's up? John Smith, what's happening? My thoughts on Cory Booker about Donald Trump for 24 hours. I saw pieces of it. I don't think he said very much personally, but I've listened to bits and pieces of it. But for the most part, I didn't get anything out of it. It's just it's theater more than anything else. Rain Lab, what's up? Very Little, what's happening? Independent POV, salute. Any focus given to black boys or straight men claims of patriarchy male privilege is used to dismiss it. Black boys and men need to be humanized by our fathers. Um, I don't think it's. I don't think black boys need to be. Humanizing is one thing. Okay. At the end of the day, um, do you actually want this culture to succeed or not? Because it's not doing it. And I don't care one way or the other. At this stage of the game, man, men are not fighting hard enough to get shit changed, and women don't want shit to change. So half the guys are on the women's side, and they're willing to put up with this mess. So what are you gonna do? That's why I'm pretty much giving up on it. Quentin, what's happening? Money Motion, what's happening? Computer Geek, what's happening? Gundam, what's up? There's the Woo Man. Els, what's going on? Michael, what's going on? See, yes, the video where you were trying to make that dude take that sick. Oh yeah, was it? That wasn't his. Had my blood. Oh, had my boy blood. Boy, man. Okay. Um, it's. I witnessed that when I was moving in with my fiance, and when debit cards first came out, right? Okay, I had a backup debit card, and I was leaving, right? My mother gave the debit card that I gave her to hold on to my fiance and said, now it's up to you to take care of her. That's when I knew. Okay, I knew right then and there how they thought. Shannon Jones, what's happening? Shannon Green, what's going on? Kelvin, what's happening? Barry Hamilton, what's going on? Biro, what's going on? On the shoulders of giants, what's happening? Johnny, what's happening? When I watched the video from the chick, I said during the live stream that someone should show the video to BGS. What chick is that? I don't know what chick you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. Upstart, what's happening? Afro National, what's going on? Mel L, what's happening? W Brizzle, Micah L, Ray. I see your dark news covered a lot. Given our current situation, we making history. I guess we're not ringing the alarm bell loud enough. Basically, I'm just trying to warn the people that can see. Okay, everybody else is going to have to learn by experience. Painless Risen, what's going on? There's Toy with Apple. Hope you feeling better, baby. I hope my baby girl feeling better. Hey, Philip, what's happening? Black males, Willie R, what's going on? Let's see. Is it Kilmaze Jones? Okay. Can't get out of the game. Hey, Double A King, what's going on? Jason, what's happening? Bowie, what's going on? Why do black women keep attacking black men on education when they can pass down when they pass down the culture? Uh, this is something and this is perplex because we're trained to do it, and we perpetuated this for 200 years. This adversarial relationship that black men and black women have, it's never gotten corrected. I don't think it can be corrected at this point. Women do not know why they have an adversarial relationship with their men. They don't. They have no clue. But all they know is they do it. Another gynocratic failed attempt to use sign language. Exactly. I said the same thing. Nana, what's going on? Who benefits from black boys lacking in education? Black women do. David Drencher, what's going on? That box is power, not really. Okay, you have to be trained to give the box power. Prime, what's going on? Yeah, I don't know why black men act like there aren't other women out there. That's true. Big Mo, what's happening? Azrael, what's going on? Don Calypso, what's going on? Prime VA, what's happening? Dookie, what's going on? I'm listening. Joray, what's happening? This is Zoli, 21. Okay, what's going on? Who else? Durante, what's happening? Dr. Goodbar, what's going on? Dusty, what's happening? I know you in on this, Dusty. Bernard, go hard, what's going on? Dead set, let those with eyes see and let those with ears hear. Yep. Eric Archer, what's happening? Detro, Pragmatic Prime, Art New Style. Art knows what I'm talking about. Because at the end of the day, when they talk about this stuff, it's never talk about them helping you. Okay, it's all about what you ain't doing. Okay. Carl Hudson, what's happening? Cornelius, what's going on? Do you think black women have a spiritual problem? No, it's not spiritual. Okay, it's cultural. Okay. And the Afro-Brazilian act like the black woman in the United States, some independent stink attitude. It's cultural. Because basically you have I have a whole bunch of people married to Afro Brazilians and they don't act like that. Okay, they're not even anywhere close to African Americans. But that stuff is starting to bleed over and bleed down there. So, have you watched Umar video on Evil Vegan Baby Mama? She's the definition of nasty work. I watched some of it. Okay, but I'm not surprised. Professor, what's going on? Ryan, what's going on? Darius Darden, what's going on? Kungaroo, what's happening? Brother John, the Hub, call me Skrilla. If brothers want a black woman, they need to get a black woman who was not raised in America. That I said that forever. Asada Muhammad, what's going on? James Wingate, okay? Asada Muhammad can tell you it's not that hard to actually educate your boys to read and write, okay? It's not that hard. Black women act like it's an act of God, okay? They have to get on their knees and pray for 4 hours every night for their kid to get educated, okay? It's not that freaking hard to educate your kids. It's not, okay? It's not that freaking hard. What's freaking hard is people getting in the way of it, okay? Ain't that freaking hard. I did it with my grandson, okay? My grandson is reading Shakespeare and doing algebra, okay? He's 12. He's reading Shakespeare and doing algebra at 12 years old, okay? And he doesn't like to read or write or do math. He hates math. But he does it, okay? And it doesn't take 15 hours a day to teach him, right? The thing is, we determined this a long time ago, right? A kid gets 7 minutes worth of teacher time in a school day. 7 minutes, okay? If you spend 35, you increase his teacher time in front of an adult by fivefold, just sitting down with him for 35 minutes. 35. That's all you got to do. You ain't got to spend like 3 hours to cut out a day's work. 35 minutes. That means you turn off the TV for 35 minutes. It means you get off your phone for 35 minutes. That you give undivided attention to the kid for 35 minutes. You can teach while you cook, okay? You can teach while you're doing other things, okay? Having your kid read to you while you cook or while you're doing something else is not hard. People act like it's freaking impossible to teach a freaking kid. Say got flack when I said black daughters got resources and a head start. Black sons got Adderall, whooping, and feminist teachers that hated them. That's true. Yeah. Well, you're gonna get flack because nobody wants to admit it. Brothers only need to date women with family members that encourage her to respect you. My girl's mother and aunt stresses to her that she needs to respect and love me. Yep. You get one of those, will you keep her? There are 26 female university USA, 4 million. Yeah, because the feminists do not want black men to be independent. Feminists actually want to control male thought. Even now, I'm just listening to somebody, and they're trying to define for us what masculinity is. It's not, I tell women and black women especially, it's none of your goddamn business what masculinity is to men. Okay, you don't define who we are. Anyway, let me get busy, man, before I start going in on a rant. Getting tired. I'm really getting tired of this shit. Black women trying to define who the fuck we are. I'm getting tired of them Negroes that go along with it, man. But why is it always the gay guys that want to go along with it? Somebody tell me, what do gay men get out of betraying other men? What do they get out of it? What reward do they get out of going with black women and betraying men, straight men? Because at the end of the day, you got a penis too. Snapping it up with your girls that talking shit on your gender or your sex. What do you get out of that? Anyway, first one I want to play. This is the original where it came from. This is I think his name's Michael Turner, and this is what started it all. No, what I'm saying, what do they get out of it? Okay, passive aggressive revenge. Revenge are doing what? Because they're so different. You know, because that same woman that snaps it up with him and spills the tea with him, turn around and call a straight man gay. Yeah, you can see that, but the thing is, why do you side and try to pass laws that are going to hurt you? That's what I don't get. Because the same laws that hurt you, that hurt us, gonna hurt you. So would it be beneficial for black men to invest online certificates over going to the expensive traditional? It depends on the education that you want to get. Okay, it depends. It depends on what you're trying to get. Um, um, if you can replace certification with experience, go ahead and do it. Apprenticeships over experience or over a degree, especially nowadays with some of these kids coming out of college and can't get hired. Okay, the employers are looking for people that know how to do shit. The thing is, how do you prove how you do shit? So that means you got to apprentice someplace, place, or what is it? You know, you got to go someplace to get experience. How do you do that? So a certificate is fine. The thing is, you got to prove that you can actually do the work. That's the only thing that college is good at, certifying you. Okay? Can everybody see this? Answer is free coochie. Gay men want free coochie. Okay. Anyway. All right. Everybody can see it. Cool. All right. This is Michael. I think his name is Michael Turner. This is the original one where it came from.
Four-year colleges has plummeted, and it.
Let's see if I can refresh this to get the first one.
Men are not attending college, and this is a horrendous trend. The number of black men at four-year colleges has plummeted, and at Howard University, there are as many non-black students as there are black men. Howard is just 19% black men. There's an array of reasons why this is happening, but the number one thing sociologists point to is something they call the belief gap.
In other words, it's black men's fault that they're not going to college. It has nothing to do with society. It has nothing to do with how they were educated. Nothing to do with how they were prepared. It has everything to do with what black men believe in. Okay?
That a lot of young black men don't believe that they can or should be able to handle college.
See, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Okay? In other words, you're inadequate. Your worldview is inadequate. Has nothing to do with society. Has nothing to do with how you're prepared. Has nothing to do with how you're educated. It's the belief that you're not prepared. That it's a belief gap. Where you get this bullshit from?
Intellectually or financially. Guys, college is a critical part of gaining the intellectual skills you need to get into the middle class.
No, that's bullshit, okay? It's bullshit into the middle class. You don't need college to get in the middle class, okay? Most people, if you earn over $25,000 a year, according to the United States, you're in the middle class, okay? If you walk in and you go to you don't even have to go to trade school. You learn a trade like pouring cement or hammering a nail, okay? You're in the middle class. You don't need college to get in the middle class. The vast majority of kids coming out of college right now can't get a freaking job. What the fuck are you talking about? You don't need college to get into the middle class. Now, should you be educated? Yes. Should you be educated so that your range of possibilities open up? Yes. But that bullshit that is a vital thing to get in the middle class by going to freaking college. That's bullshit.
Black women have known for years and years that they need degrees to overcome racism and misogyny and get as far as they can in
Black men don't suffer from misogyny.
life, and they have become the most educated demographic in.
No, they're not. That's another lie, okay? And you guys have been hammering that lie for the last 15 years, and it's a lie, okay? Why do you guys I don't know why they keep repeating these lies.
The country, but leaving black men out of that trend means a lot of potential wealth that could go into the black community won't go into the black community.
And it's called you giving white women the jobs that black men are supposed to have. That's what it's called.
Because people who could have become middle class professionals and intellectuals will not be able to make that leap. Apparently black.
That's bullshit, okay? That's bullshit. How come the females are not middle class professionals and intellectuals? When was the last time you see a whole ream of black female intellectual thought? 25% of your black women have college degrees. So we should have this renaissance of black female intellectual thought. Where's the proof? That's not $225 a year is poor. The poverty rate adjusted for inflation is about $28,000 a year. Okay, that's your poverty rate. The new poverty rate is about $28,000 a year. Okay, so I don't know who you are or where you get your shit from. Go back and look at it again. Okay, it depends on your family size. Okay, depends on your family size. You're in the middle class. I throw out a number, not an exact number. Motherfucker, you come up and you show me your shit, okay? Because I say something and I gotta prove everything I have. I say, but you don't. Okay. And, well, yeah, I know that's it's about $28,000. I think the adjusted poverty rate now. I said I'm getting tired of hearing misogyny be thrown around, and the Simp Brigade defending his. He's a male feminist. That's why. Black women have a lot of degrees, living in their cars and school debt. That's what I'm saying is they've been throwing this stuff around. The thing is, they throw this stuff around is because you want to down black men, okay? If you want because Chinese don't have this freaking problem, okay? Every kid has to be educated. Every kid has to go to school, okay? Whether they make it to the top or not, okay? Every kid. Boys and girls, okay? Especially the boys. Every kid. And we have, it was 2 years ago they found out that 90% of black boys in 8th grade are reading below the reading level. Couldn't make the 8th grade reading level, which is minimum. The 8th grade reading level is minimum. In fact, there was one chick they put on there. She said a third of black men was at least 1/3 of black men are functionally illiterate. And you talk about college? Don't talk about college. Don't talk to me about college. College? You didn't care. You didn't care when they was passing these kids. You didn't care when these kids couldn't read. The scores come out every freaking semester. The scores come out of where these kids stand, what their demographic is. Every single semester, the same shit. And every year they do a review, and the same shit pops up over and 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 over again. Okay? Nobody does anything. Nobody does shit. And the only reason that you put shit out here like this, like the believability gap, get the fuck out of here. So I call it a miseducation. College? Don't talk to me about college. College? So my older brothers, my uncle and older brothers went to Howard, took my son on the HBC tour early 2000. The females were moving in herds. Okay, knew that environment was not conducive for a positive outcome. HBCUs have been dominated by black women forever. Okay, forever. HBCUs was actually made for the mistresses of white men and their offspring. So it's created for. The highest percentage of black men in the HBCU was 38%. Okay, that was in 75. This is something that I think when I showed this, what's her name? She said it. Okay. Appreciate you, John Smith. Democrats, liberals, black women really overplayed their hand when they killed my brother's keeper. They blocked us from DEI and AA jobs, yes, affirmative action jobs, educational chances, etc. So shaming was the only thing that kept us in check. Now that's gone, they don't know what to do. Exactly. Because it's pointless. Okay. So I was just taught about this. They're letting our sons pass all the way through high school, and they can't read or write. Exactly. Okay. Man, I stay in my grandson's ass about reading. Okay. That little Negro knew how to read when he was 3. Okay. And then once he knew how to read, then my daughter come out showing him off. Okay. They knows how to read at 3 years old. He knew how to read and write at 3. At 3. Not 15, not 20, 3 years old. And I had to fight my women to do it. Anyhow, before I start going off on a freaking tangent, okay? Next up, because this is one I actually wanted to play. There's tons of people doing it. And this is Yvette Carnell, okay? Because this is something that Dr. Neal said I should review. And she does a fairly good job. And she's a lesbian, and there's going to be a little bit of black girl magic in there. But we're going to go through it, man. The thing is, this is a structural problem. Booker T. Washington was half right, okay? Booker T. Washington was also a white man apologist, too. Booker T. Washington put trades over education. DuBois was the opposite. Okay, what you needed was both of them. Okay. Booker T. Washington is why you had your black towns burned down. So they were both right. Okay. Anyhow, let me get busy. I want to get in on this Booker T. Washington. Because Booker T. Washington, got to remember, he was raised as a slave. Okay, he didn't get his freedom till he was like 9, 10 years old. Okay, and he was the son. He was the son of a slave master. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on with Booker T. Washington that's flawed. That's flawed. A lot. I'm not even going to go through. So the thing that the black men should have trades before education, that's Booker T. Washington. Anyway, let's get busy.
Planet with an incarceration like that. And that's not the result of an individual failure. That's the result of systemic failure.
She called it out. Everybody called it out. She was conscious of the problem. She called it out, but nobody did shit. Nobody did shit. She called out the problem. She didn't get no solutions for the goddamn problem. It's not new. This goes back to Kunjufu in '85. Kunjufu wrote like 6 or 7 books on this shit.
And we said nothing. And we did nothing. That is worse than South African apartheid. And I think one of the things when you say, what does it look like? What does this look like? Here's what I'll say.
Is that, and I don't want to interrupt, is that failure or purpose?
Purpose. It's intentional. It's intentional.
Right.
To me,
It feels very purposeful. It feels like the system is
Oh yeah, I don't think it was deliberate. Yeah,
Right.
of course it was deliberate. When you look at the crack.
But the thing is, crack is a problem, right? Okay. When you look in, that it's intentional. You look at, they blame the white man, okay, but they overlook their part in it. Black men are weak, but white men are bad, and women in the middle have nothing to do with it. It's bullshit.
Crack cocaine law, when you look at the disparity, it was deliberate. And what you have now, because what are you going to do with these men? There's no job. There's nothing we're going to do for you. We're going to warehouse you in prison.
and make more money.
And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to, listen, I have said this, the engine, the gap.
They did not make money off of warehousing you in prisons, okay? It cost you money. And that should have been the focus when they were warehousing people in prison, okay? The cost of what it costs the taxpayers to do it. The reason the educational system went bust, is because you spent 3 times the amount of money to put a man in prison than you did to actually educate him. That's why it went bust. That's why shit went bust. Okay? In California, before they put in 3 strikes law, okay, they spent $7 or $8 billion on education. They spent less than $1 billion on imprisonment. Okay? 5 years later, they spent $4 billion or $5 billion on education and $9 billion on locking people up. That's why the lotto had to be instituted, because they need more tax money for education, okay? Because they're spending so much money locking people up. It costs taxpayers the double the amount to lock a man up than educate him. Make that make sense.
Gasoline that America runs on is black failure.
Oh, geez.
And a lot of that is black male failure. I'm not saying, and women are, I'm not saying that when you look at eviction, all of that, when you look at what happens to black women, what I'm saying is when you look at people who are put in cages, it dwarfs anybody. And here's what I'll say, if you don't have government, what do you have, right? So I'm looking at this stage, we all look good, we got Argyle socks, everybody.
If you don't have government, you still got the people at some point, okay? The government is not your savior, okay? The government is your representative. You are the government. At least Donald Trump gets that right, okay? At least that's the one thing I can say about Donald Trump. I don't like the man, but at least one I can say about Donald Trump, that's what he gets right, okay? The government is the people, not your representatives.
We look good, right? We got good water. We got good water.
T. Riddler, with your pedestrian ass, okay? Where'd the money come from that the prison got the money for, that private prison got the money from? Where'd the money come from? So I know you're not going to come up on the panel. Where'd the money come from? Where'd the money come from? So why don't they just delete men or women, then locking them up is seen as expensive? Because it's called, because if you do that, one, it's called democracy, okay? Number 2, you're going to have a rebellion. If you start deleting people for committing crimes, them people will collect guns and start hunting down police. You don't have enough police for that shit. If I know that if I do something, instead of locking me up, they're going to kill me, okay? I got nothing to lose. Then you really will have terrorists and rebels in your midst. Mass incarceration was a financial from taxpayer to stakeholders of private. In other words, who did it cost money to? It cost the taxpayers money, okay? Taxpayers didn't make any money. Just like the police don't make you money. Taxpayers didn't make any money, okay? You lost money by doing that. Same money. Basically, and they said this a long time ago. You can send four men to college rather than send them to prison. You can send 4 men to college for the same amount of money, send 1 man to prison. Is that making you money or is that costing you money? You make more money if you send that guy to college or send that guy to a trade. He comes out and becomes a taxpayer. That's how you make money. So a society making money, losing money by imprisoning people. I mean, T. Riddler, I assume you can do math. Continuing. In other words, shut the fuck up, okay? That's what I'm saying. Shut the fuck up.
But what I want you to understand, we ain't got no money. I don't mean that on an individual level. Yeah. I mean, we have to stop viewing ourselves through
basically what it is they sell this shit that imprisoning men makes money for society. It does not.
Reparations in our community, right? So the middle white family has $100,000. The middle black family has $1,700, and we're not outraged as a community who built this country on free labor. We are not outraged every day of the year. We say, no. We can do it for ourselves. The first thing that has to do, there has to be a lot of unlearning that has to happen. This conservative ideology that is passed off as empowerment has to go away. It has to die. It is a zombie ideology that is still with us and neuters our politics. That's what you have when you have President Obama going to Morehouse saying we don't have time for excuses. You look at a group of men who did everything they could to navigate around excuses to be there on that day, and he said that.
Now, I say that to say that was 8 years ago. That was 8 years ago. What happened, though? What happened is that people took that, like, that. Listen, I said in that thing and what it was. The thing is what it was then is what it is now. I said it. You can tell the.
Y'all want me to drop the link? Y'all want to talk about this? I was very clear about what I said. Every night I was very clear about what I said. Did society make money by imprisoning men? No, they did not. They lost money, okay? You lost money by doing that. Jesus Christ. You know what? You're right. You're right, Thanos, okay? I'm going to stop talking to the pedestrians.
The health of a community by the health of its men.
Yes.
And I was talking then about incarceration, right? That's what I was talking about. But it's in line with what we're seeing now. But let me tell you what everybody did. Let me tell you what every podcaster did. Everybody played with it. So instead of that becoming, oh my goodness, we can tell the health, the men are in cages and nobody cares. What do we do about it? Instead of saying we have to move to do something about that, we got a bunch of idiot podcasters.
Does U.S. make money from CIA black houses? In a sense, yes. Why? Because they keep the rest of the world in order. They do. That's what the CIA and your military is for. That's how you make money. I'm not arguing. I'm not talking to pedestrians no more.
Going back and forth with each other, bickering. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have some kind of productive conversations. I think some of those conversations were productive because I think there were a lot of heterosexual ADOS men and women who were misunderstanding each other. That's great. To the extent that you understand each other, that's great. But in terms of our politics, what happens a lot of times is that we are combative for the sake of clicks, not understanding how much we need community. So people will invite me on podcasts just to fight. I'm not.
Okay, from an accounting, that means you don't know how geoeconomics work. That's why. That's all it says. Okay. That's all this gas them up. Okay, you don't know how geopolitics or geoeconomics work.
I'm not gonna fight you. You're unworthy. And I'm not going to do stuff just to get clicks for you or me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because it is not productive. And at a certain point, we have decided that the thing to be is to be entertaining.
Yes.
Not productive.
Not productive.
That entertainment.
Yes. Not productive. Yes.
Matters just as much as being productive. And
that's what the Democrats are doing right now. They want to be. Okay. Okay. Do you know how the dollar works, sir? Do you know how the dollar works and the reserve currencies work and how the balance of payments work in the world? Do you know how they work? Do you know how the dollar system works? Have you ever read the Chinese economist Henry C.K. Liu about the dollar, or Wolf, or what's his name? Okay, we've got about 10 economists, and they tell you exactly how the dollar works. Okay. Okay. Gas them. Okay, gas them up. Okay. It costs the average of $40,000 a year to lock a prisoner up. Okay, in California, it's $80,000 a year to lock a prisoner up from the taxpayers. Are you gonna get $80,000 worth of production out of that prisoner? Are you gonna get a return on your investment by locking that prisoner up? I'm talking about the state. I'm not talking about the individual contractors. Yeah, anyway, continuing.
Doesn't at some point you got to be grown. And being grown means, hey, we got to handle this.
Yeah, he's a pedestrian. Okay.
You don't just get to say, "Oh, I care about my brothers." As a woman or a man, you don't get to say it. You don't get to say it because I'm not talking about women, I'm talking about the whole community.
Mm-hmm.
So this article came out, New York Times. Only 19%, Howard University, my alma mater, only 19% of students at Howard University are black men whose enrollment levels at four-year colleges have plummeted across the board. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When you see numbers of black men, because when they say black men, they are including black immigrants and they're including biracials, right? No shot against the biracial. I'm saying you don't come from what a lot of people come from. A lot of biracials not are anchored in that white parent and the wealth of that white parent. So when you look at it, you might not be looking at 19%. You're probably looking at more like 6-7% ADOS men. Now, we talked about this. Hey, incarceration. Hey, the people who are getting into these schools now, a lot of them on us. So you have this.
A lot of them are not us. Why is that? Well, the thing is, it's not a lot of them are not us. Why? The thing is, why aren't they getting into the schools? She don't talk about that. It's not. The thing is, they're not us. We should be as concerned about it. The thing is, why? We already know why. You know, that's why it frustrates me to see these people that's supposed to be politically intelligent, okay? You already know why.
This thing where ADOS men are basically being replaced by a bunch of other men who look like them while they're in jail and other stuff, homeless, whatever, and nobody cares and nobody wanted to talk about it. People want to play games with it. Well, the problem is the way you act, the way. No, this is when you see this level, please understand me when I say this. And I've said this before, people don't listen. Please understand me. This level of failure is not an individual failure. When you see numbers this high, what that tells you, what that should tell you is that this is intentional. We are in crisis and people are playing on the internet. We're in crisis with the tariffs right now. People are playing on the internet. Negroes just like to play too much. You are grown. You have to act like it. You have to behave like it. You have to take in information like it. You have to act on information like it.
Gas them up. We don't have time to go back and we talked about this like 10 years ago. We ain't got time to go back and re-educate you, man.
And you have to let people lead who can lead. You can't just step up and say, "Well, I feel froggy today. I feel strong." Be helpful. But let me just show you the rest of this art because I want to get to this before I get out of here. Howard is not unique The number of black men attending four-year colleges has plummeted across the board, and nowhere is this deficit more pronounced than at historically black colleges and universities, or HBCUs. Black men account for 26% of students at HBCUs, down from an already low of 38% in 1970.
It was already low. That was your high for black men going to college. That was your high. That was your peak, okay? If you go back in history, black men attending HBCUs was always right around 25%. Your peak was 38%. That's your peak, not your low.
76. You saw that? 19 what? 76. 1976. Whew. According to the American Institute for Boys and Men, there are now, read this line with me, fam. I want you to stay with me. Just pause for a second before I even say this. There are now about as many non-black students attending HBCUs as there are black men.
Yeah. Okay. So what? Okay. Number one, you let them in. Okay. You let you instead of making sure that black colleges is for black people, you let them in. You let non-black students into the college. Fine. Fine, okay? It's cool, okay? But the thing is, my barber told me this like 20-some odd years ago, right? Okay? He's from St. Louis. You know, it starts in the school system. These you're not qualifying these kids for college. And right now, they're not even qualifying them, right? They're just pushing them through because they had nothing else to do with them. They need bodies. A lot of these kids are coming into college that can't read, okay? We just did a video on this girl that was Latina, right, from Puerto Rico. She couldn't read or write. She got into a very prominent college, okay, UConn, University of Connecticut. They're just pushing these kids through. Just pushing these kids through. And but the thing is, guess who gets scrutinized? It's not the women, it's black men.
These schools were meant to serve ADOS men and ADOS women.
Okay.
There are now about as many non-black students attending HBCUs as there are black men. ADOS men, what this is telling, and what this is telling you is that this country, and to a large part even your own community, has decided to move on without you. Because ain't nobody sounding the alarm. Hey, and don't think I'm going.
That is true. They've decided to move on without you, okay? They try to replace you with the Latinos, okay? With the Latinas and Latinos. They have decided to move on without you, including your women. But she excludes the women from that. She don't talk about what the women think.
On that women, no. This is planned by somebody bigger than you.
See, in other words, she's trying to overlook the women. She's trying. That's the only thing I don't like. She's trying to take the blame off the women because she don't want to lose her money. She's in the pro-black sector. You can't piss off the women in the pro-black sector. Okay, that's what I don't like. You're taking the responsibility away from the mothers that are raising these children. Yeah, it's not your fault. It's the white man oppressing your boys they can't get ahead, and you're not at fault. It's bullshit. Do you think adolescence is triggering MSM to pay attention to black boys' issues now? No, I think the Reeves book started that. The Reeves book, this has been an ongoing process since 2018. Okay, with Chetty's work, even before that. But since Chetty's work, it's been an ongoing process. Adolescence is not an alarm bell. Basically, and in a sense, it's not for black men. It's for white boys, especially in the UK, because the manosphere talking points that penetrated all the way down into the primary schools, into elementary school kids. That's what's triggered. So now that's how come they put a 13-year-old instead of an adult. Because this is how far the information is penetrated down into, and they can't stop it. In fact, it's so embedded they can't do anything. So what they try to do is demonize it. What up, Mookie? Hey, my nephew said he's getting it. He said he's finally understanding you. So shout out to you, man. Governor is passing a bill to remove reading and writing requirements for high schoolers of color. You can't make this shit up, man.
Bigger than me, bigger than anybody. But think about what the reaction would be if I said that Howard University's enrollment was only 19% black women.
Yep, exactly. Say it again, black girl. Say it again, okay? You're saying it's not going to offend them. I know why you're doing it that way.
I just want you to think about what that reaction would be.
Yes.
How people would feel. And think about why there's no empathy for you.
There is no empathy. I said that a long time ago with the disposable class of people, right?
There's no empathy when you with mass incarceration happen. There ain't gonna be no empathy now. But if we're going to do anything to change that, we have to find that empathy.
Okay.
And that thing that we have to do is called politics, and it's called movement.
The sudden rise of concern for boys and black boys in particular is because it's called global competition. Okay, every other group is educating their children, and now you have to compete with the rest of the world. Before you could have the luxury of locking black men up and throwing them away and putting them on the street. Why? Because there was nobody close enough to compete with you. Okay, if your starting five is killing everybody, then your bench doesn't matter. Okay, what happens when all of a sudden everybody, the starting five of other teams is good or close to yours, and you have this big ass deep bench? Okay, now you have to worry about the people on the bench. Got to worry about your reserves because everybody counts now. Okay, you push out the migrants, not having enough white male workers. Okay, now black men have to come in and fill that gap. Because Russia, China, India, and other places are actually eating your lunch right now because you failed to educate your children properly. Now you're feeling it. So now you have to go back to the drawing board and re-educate all these people that you miseducated. You all have to re-educate all these people that you didn't spend money on. That's what's happening. Mr. Tolbert, I always appreciate these types of analysis. That's what's going on. It's competition, and basically, like I said, the Biden administration before they left and the Trump administration said the party's over. Okay, all this bullshit, this Wonderland, this DEI, and want to feel good, this feel good woo woo shit is gone. Okay, that's gone. Now the United States has to compete with the rest of the world, right? Okay. What did Mr. Spock say? Okay, what did he say? What did Mr. Spock say?
Sauce for the goose, Mr. Savick. The odds will be even.
The odds are even in the rest of the world. Man, I could go through this chapter and verse about why this is happening, what's happening. This has been happening over the past 30 years, okay? This is not new. The thing is, they've been kicking the can down the road, running up the credit card. Now the credit card is empty. Now we have to do real work. And now everybody counts. Everybody counts. And Garrett Grant, what's going on? Now you have to convince all these black boys that you miseducated, that you passed through, that you downed, and that you shuffled around. Now you have to educate them, and the women don't like it. And what Michael Turner did is a diss track, okay? Trying to make black men feel better. Trying to make black women feel better. They're trying to put you down so that you don't compete. In other words, they're trying to gaslight you. That it's your fault that you're a failure. That either one or two things: are you gonna give up or you're gonna try harder. They're trying to shame you into trying harder. In fact, I was just listening to the Native Pod thing, right? And they talked about the black male elections, right? Okay. And how Barack Obama talked to white people versus how they talk to black people, right? To white people, they considered them, they negotiated with them, they gave them a grand vision, they tried to appeal to them. To black men, guess what they did? They tried to shame them. They tried to shame them how inadequate they were. and how they should follow along because they just should, and how because they call them misogynists, they call them anti-black woman, they call them all kind of crap, right? Okay, it's because the black culture has been taught that the only way to get black men in line is to shame them, and they're getting mad that you can't shame them anymore. Anyhow, continuing.
Building, and it's not just podcasts. It's not just putting the camera in front of your face and saying, "Hey, this thing happened." Hey, don't just talk to me about the thing that happened. I don't want to just talk about it. Are we planning about it? Is everything a discussion? Is everything content? I'm on YouTube once a week. If I really wanted to like do some content for clicks, it's news stories every day. I could light this thing up every day. If I want
facts, if you want to, there's stuff every day. In fact, there's so much you can't keep up with it. Yeah, Amos did, but if you go back and read Kwanzaa Kunjufu, man, okay? Kwanzaa Kunjufu, he talked about this. DuBois talked about this. DuBois talked about this. This is not new. They've been talking about this. People say push boys into trades, okay? They've been saying push black men into trades since 1865. Black men have been in trade since 1865. In fact, the Mohawk Conference 1890 said black men did not need to be educated. They didn't need to know how to read or do math. That's for women. It's not new. And we're still saying the same shit we said for 150 years. When is the shit going to stop? When's it going to stop? Anyhow. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? When's it going to? I'm not saying that I'm not saying that black men shouldn't go into trades and earn money. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you should not neglect black boys' education just because you think they can fall back on a trade. There's a lot of guys that were in trades and did very good in doing trades, right? But when they actually signed their paycheck, it was with an X. And they had to take the money home to the black woman, to actually do the bills. Go back and look at fences. Troy couldn't read. He had to take his check home and his money home, his paycheck home, to his wife to distribute it. Because she could read, write, count, and do math. And she never taught him to do it because she wanted him to be in that place. Anyhow, continuing.
Wanted attention, I could light up Twitter Spaces every day. I should do more Twitter Spaces, but I could light them up every day because there's always something to talk about. But listen, are we grown? Because I just had a birthday and I'm grown. I don't want to just gossip because that's what a lot of folks are doing. This is just gossip. I'm not interested in gossiping all the time. I'm interested in movement work. Are we grown? Are we going to do something about it, or we just going to talk about it? Or we just going to complain about, man, yeah, it's hard out here. Okay, fine. What else? I tell you why you don't need no school. I'm not talking about AI. I'm talking about what you're doing.
I'm talking about you don't need no school. See that's that old. Anyway, that's that old slave talk. Okay, it's old slave talk, and then cry, about it.
With your life, do you have 540 mercy? When you talk about school, I get it, but everything's good. But do you have 500 for? Because there's going to be levels to the bottom. Like this is not just one bottom. It's levels to the bottom. Somebody got 500.
Okay, see Hutch. So, in other words, would you recommend not teaching boys and little boys and men to write and do math, to read, write, and do math? Just forget all their education. I'm asking for a friend. Did your education help you at all in your endeavors? At all? I'm not talking about working for anybody. I'm talking about education, period. Should we educate our men? Should we educate our men? Thank you. That's all we're talking about. I don't care what you do with the education. The thing is, why complain about something when you could fix it? Everybody knows what the problem is. Okay, I'm not going to say what's going on right now in a certain sector. Okay, about some men that cannot read, write, and do basic comprehension. Okay, they're having issues with that. Okay, because I was actually I'm actually trying to learn Swahili, right? Okay, so in beginning stages of it, it's coming along okay. Okay, so there's the levels, right? Like you know, A1 is beginner, and you know, blah blah blah, and C2 is the highest. Okay, which is college level, right? Um, college level fluency, right? So I know in Swahili where I'm at. I'm A1, right? I got about maybe 200 or 300 words down. Okay, working on it. But so I decided to take a C2 uh, C2 test, right? Something very very small. It takes about what 10 minutes, right? Okay. Um, so I took it, and it's like maybe 30, 25 questions, right? Okay. And so I took it, and I don't know what the passing grade for C2 fluency is. I have no idea. I should have asked what it was, but I got 24 out of the 25 right. Right, it says you're way higher than a C2 level. Okay, so basically my lexicon is much higher than is probably higher than a college level kid. Okay, so what I'm saying is, should people be educated? Because it's not about the kid going to college. Okay, not about the kid going to college. Okay, when I was in trade school for electronics, right? Okay, I had to go back and teach other kids, um, the other guys, trigonometry because they never learned it. I had to go back and help them with trig, basic trig, not basic fractions, but complex fractions. Okay, because that's what you needed to work out the circuit. Had to go back and teach it. If you have a minor supply chain, then you should be in AI, okay? Because that's where the supply chain is gone. That's where it's gonna go. You should be in an AI, and you should be in crypto contracts, because that's where the supply chain is going. I mean, if when I walked into electronics class, right, and we had to do the math, okay, the electronics math. It was simple to me because I'd already done it. Okay, I heard done it because I needed to, because there was a apprentice course in my you know, they had to take a test for, and where I worked, right. So and this is funny, Theo. This is funny, and they were pissed at me, okay, because applied for the job, and we had to take like a, was it 4 hour test? Was it four? Yeah, 4 hour test, right? All kind of shit. Okay, for electronic technician, right? So I'm taking the test, right? I take the test, and I finished it a little bit early, and I walk out, right? I think 200 people took the test. Okay, I was one of 5 people that actually passed that test. Okay, and I had the highest grade on that test. Five people passed it. They got pissed off at me. Out of 200 people that took that test, only 5 passed. That's what they call educate. Even for trades, okay? That's called educating your boys. Anyway, let me keep going. Education does not always mean college and degrees. It's about learning and learning how to learn with critical thinking. The education system is built to make workers. College makes you a specialist. It does. Okay? I'm saying is, and Maggie knows this shit. Okay? If you want boys in college, you put them on a college path, okay? When I was going to a white school, okay, the counselors told me this is a path if you want to go to college, okay? You have to take college-bound courses. So the classes I took, including my math, were college-bound courses, okay? When I got out of high school, I topped out at trigonometry. Okay, I didn't do calculus. Okay, back then calculus was not really. You had to be one of those Bomar brains to do calculus in high school. When I was going in high school, right, that was not a high school level course. Okay, You take your physics, you take your chemistry. I took my math through trigonometry. It's a way of training the mind. Do they want these boys to succeed? Because Singapore does it, China does it, India does it, Japan does it, Mexico does it. Can we do it? Okay, they know how to train kids. With this much money, they know how to train kids to be specialists. Okay, China trains 2 million programmers and 2 million engineers every year. Every year. I'm a cor- I'm on a course to go to Starfleet Academy because we're at war with the Klingons. I heard that. Black boys want a path to a viable income. They don't. Black boy, okay, this is something. See, Hutch. Black boys don't know shit. Black boys only know what you teach them. They don't know a fucking path to a viable income. They have no clue what a viable income is. They don't know anything. A 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old has no clue about a viable path to income. Black men might want that. Black boys have no clue. Do they? Do they? Black boys don't have no clue about what a viable income is. My grandson is 12 years old. He has no clue about what a fucking viable income is. All he knows is grandpa said he needs to do this, he needs to study this, he needs to be able to do this. That's all he knows. Because grandpa said so. Now, if it was up to him, all he would do is sing and dance. They don't have a clue. Kids do not know what they want. Hell, most teenagers don't, when they get to college, don't know what they want. They don't know. You find me a 10-year-old that says he wants a path to a viable income. Find me that guy. If you find me that guy, I'll show you an outlier. If you find me that guy, he's probably going to be a multimillionaire. If you find that guy at 10. Show me a group of 10-year-olds that think about a viable income, path to a viable income. Show me one. All kids know is what you give them, okay? A 3-year-old does not know why he needs to know how to read and write. A 5-year-old does not know why he needs to know his alphabet and math. They don't know. How could they know? I didn't know. I didn't know that I needed to learn how to read and write when I was 5, even though I did it. Why my mother set me down at 4 years old to work on my alphabet. I didn't know. I did it. I did it because my mother and my parents told me to do it. And my teachers told me to do it. I had no clue. Those are young men. They're okay. I talk to these kids all the fucking time. They don't have a clue. I talk to fathers with young teenage boys as we speak. They don't have no clue about what a viable career income is. Okay, the vast majority. So either you talking to some high level bougie kids, man, that have millionaire parents, or basically you're making this up. Okay. I got kids, okay? I'm a grandfather. I got 5 grandsons, okay? I went to school just like everybody else, man. Nope, everybody was fucking clueless about their careers. The vast majority. All boys know, all kids know is what you teach them. That's all they know. So my granny used to tell me, you don't like the piano. He made me, and it paid off. Yeah, he made me take it. Yeah. Why these kids? Most of these guys that I talk to nowadays don't know what a viable income, a viable career is until they fucking 30 years old. Okay. It took a class assignment to choose a career. Okay. I said, salute to Passport OG on passing his Azure cert today. Cool. Engineering the land of the rising dust, man. Let the dust flow. BGS, we're on the same page. I taught my kids to the point of everything that they were learning young. It builds upon an end goal. Perhaps we should teach them younger. Their life is that's okay. It's not perhaps, okay? Do you want your kid to be really? I can't wait for Humans 2.0 to come about, okay? For all this stuff to be over. Put implants in the goddamn kids, make a separation between the haves and have-nots, and be done with it. Okay? Everybody knows exactly what to do with their kids. They've been talking about this for the last 200 years, okay? Everybody knows. When did they write the book, what is it, about the Tiger Mom? In the late 80s, early 90s? Everybody knows what you need to do. They put this stuff down in charts every year, okay? I always ask this, who earns the most money, right? Of all groups, right? It's always Asians, right? Okay? Black people are near the bottom, right? Okay? Go back to who studies the most as students. Same shit. It's not hard. Why are we pretending like this is a mystery? Either you want your kids to succeed or you don't. That's all it is. Same thing. I tell my daughter that all the time, okay? Either you want the kid to succeed or you don't. And you only can get out of that kid what you put in. Just like a farmer, okay? A farmer knows that if I don't put certain things into this plant, that plant is not going to come out, okay? It's not going to come out right. It's not going to yield what I wanted to yield. A farmer knows that, okay? Well, you think a human being that's more complex, it needs less? I copied Asians so it's not a hard process. It's slow and it's tedious. Okay? We let our kids spend more time on a smartphone. I get on my grandson all the time. I can't take the smartphone from him. Okay, that's up to his mother. My grandson succeeds on basically an hour homework a day. Now he has a tutor, basically a tutor helping him for that hour. That's all it takes. And you wonder at the end of the day, how come these kids aren't succeeding? Get the fuck out of here. Now you want these kids to succeed or you don't. And I'm getting tired of this bullshit that we have to go through with this kind of crap, right? Everybody knows what the fuck the problem is and what the solution is, but nobody wants to do the shit. And then when you try to work up a solution with somebody else's money, then you get pissed off because it's about respectability politics. Start telling the goddamn truth. You don't want these boys to fucking succeed. Shut the fuck up and tell the truth. You don't want them to succeed. Because every time they try, you want to step on them. Same thing with the rites of passage programs. Why do you think they died? Because black women helped kill them. When they disagree with something, they start pulling the boys out of the programs. And then then all of a sudden they want to infiltrate. You know, like I have a couple guys that are have boys programs to educate boys, right? Okay. You can't believe the pressure they get to include girls into their programs. You can't believe the pressure they get to include girls into their programs. If you don't make something for girls, black women are going to try to kill it. I think there was I think LeBron James tried to start a school for boys, right? Okay. Couldn't do it. Couldn't get no backing until he included girls. You cannot believe the pressure that they put on men when they try to teach boys exclusively, right? It's because once Dr. T told me the same thing, right? He started a program to help black boys on campus, right? Okay. They complained until they started including girls, and when the girls got in, they took the whole thing over. It became a girls program after that. Once the girls got in and started making decisions, everything was for the women, and all the boys started leaving because it became a girls program. That's what they're trying to do with Boy Scouts, right? They're trying to put enough girls into where there is no Boy Scouts anymore. It becomes a girls' program because the boys are going to leave. Anyway, let me finish this and then we're going to get out of here, man, because I've been here long enough.
What are you going to do outside of it? What are you going to? But and it's not just about school; it's about incarceration too. So, if you're locked out of society and you're getting further locked out, are you just going to talk about it? Because I thought grown people tried to find solutions about stuff. I didn't think they talked about it. That's the whole thing that happened with ADOS. When people talked about it for 10 years, people talking about the ADOS movement. Since 2016, people talking about this.
They did find solutions, okay? They did talk about it. They did negotiate it, okay? That's why the incarceration rate went down, okay? Because motherfuckers couldn't afford it no more. Mass incarceration happened to actually kill because nobody said any goddamn thing when the crack era was going through, right? And as soon as the Soviet Union fell, they didn't need the crack era anymore. They killed it and started locking away the people that actually participated. That's what happened. But while the money was rolling, women didn't say shit when the money was rolling. Student loan debt is the government's number one asset. No, not really. Okay. Student loans and student loan debt was a way to encourage colleges to open up more seats. Okay. College was never meant for the vast majority of people, only 10 or 15% of the people, right? But if you want to get black women off of welfare and single mothers out of poverty, you got to give them an avenue, and college was that avenue. So the percentage of the population that actually went to college went from 10% to 60%. You flooded the colleges with students. Guess what's going to happen to the price? Okay, it encouraged colleges to do this. You have to raise the price of the education. That's what happened. Every other country, either the college is free or low cost. When I was going to school, it was low cost. Okay, it was either free or low cost. Okay, until '96, when he started pushing welfare moms into the educational system, college was either free or very low cost. Okay, when they pushed all these women into education that didn't belong there, it skyrocketed. That's what happened. And that's what happened. And they spent. I'm not even going to talk about what they did with the money. Okay. A lot of this stuff that happened could have been allayed because there's plenty of money to actually have it done. They didn't do it. But that's politics outside the scope of this channel. Okay, way out of the scope of this channel, because I can't even talk about incarceration. Okay, and money without people blowing up and without understanding it. Okay, I'm not even going to try to talk about global politics. Okay, somebody talked about the CIA doesn't make money. Because you don't understand money. There's a reason they pay the CIA $600 or $700 billion to do things. Okay, there's a reason for that. 90% of men college graduates can't find related careers. That's true. Same thing with women. The more the use, the higher the product. Yeah. It's, this is way outside the scope of the discussion, okay? About why shit happens and why in politics shit happens and why they do one thing versus the other. Because I remember back in the late 90s when after they passed the welfare reform bill, right? And all of a sudden they were allowed to raise their prices in college. The little colleges that were charging, little tiny colleges were charging like $2,000 or $3,000 a year, right? Maybe $4,000 a year. All of a sudden they start charging $30,000. Why is that? Why is that? The biggest corporation on the planet. It's a theory that people come up with to try to fix a problem. They fuck up other stuff. Okay, it's always a compromise. Okay, there's a reason you have more women in college right now, especially white women, than men. Okay, they made a decision. They made a decision. They stripped everything that were for men to be productive in K through 12 and in college. They stripped that all out, and they put everything they had into the service sector and women. And this is where we are. It's where we are. What's the incentive for education if you're broke ninja? Okay. Okay. What's the incentive? Okay. There should basically a 3-year-old doesn't need an incentive. It's not what it was the incentive for a grown broke ninja. The thing is, if you want to eat, unless you're going to steal, what are broke ninjas doing now? The incentive is that you don't be broke. And there's a level of education that you have to be able to access anything in this country. What happens? The incentive is going to be when Doge and Trump starts cutting off the safety net. Then what are you going to do? For the Beach Educational Fund, which beats being locked in some church by a jackleg preacher trying to meet his next Bentley payment. Yeah. Sometimes, a long time ago, a lot of people in pro-black sector said black people need to feel pain. Okay? And I used to argue with them. I didn't like that idea, right? Maybe they're right, okay? Y'all gonna feel some pain. Everybody talk about what does broke ninja need an education for? Y'all gonna feel some pain. What happens when the resources that would normally go to broke ninjas dries up? Okay? Because you have to have an economy, okay? If a broke ninja wants to make some money, he's got to have a way to make money, okay? Somebody has to pay him. Where does that person get their money from? Even if somebody working at McDonald's, okay, you have to have customers. Where do customers come from? Why do you think all the dollar stores are closing? Some of you guys, you need to take an economics course, okay? Just a basic economics course on how money flows and how it flows to and from. Okay? Because I am not going to try to teach global economics or global economic theory on this channel. And y'all can't get the basics on this channel. On this channel, I mean, you're looking at them slashing jobs, right? People crying, "Oh my God, I just lost my job," and yada 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 yada. I was talking to my mentor. She talked about people on Social Security that are over the age of 65. They're about to be homeless. Okay. Now they get a check. They have a debit card, and they talk about they can't afford their rent. Understandable. And she said, what are they going to do? I said, it's simple if they really want to do something. She said, what? Move out the country. You got a debit card. Why you live here? Why don't you move to Thailand or Bali or Mexico or Central America where your rent is $300 instead of $2,000? You ain't got to work. You ain't got to punch a clock. Why you need to be here? Unless you like living under a tent because you want to be in America. I never thought of that. Why does it sound like they want black boys stuck in a Bantu education like they had in apartheid South Africa? No, where do you think in South Africa learned the Bantu education system, right? They learned it from here. It's the same pattern that they've had in the United States for the last 200 years, okay? Black boys are in the exact same place they were for the last 200 years. The exact same place. They tried to get movement under Moynihan. Moynihan wanted to make a program for black boys and men, and guess what? The black women shut that shit down. And affirmative action that should have gone to black men, jobs should go to black men, went to white women. And black women have not said shit about it. They had not said shit about it, okay? And that's why I played that. That's why I always play this. Let me play it one more time, okay? People don't grasp the meaning when I actually say this, okay? People don't actually grasp its meaning, okay? When Poussin said this, okay? Poussin said it. He said it. Play this real quick. He said it. Now I play it not because of interracial marriage, okay, which is part of it, okay. He said it because it's true, okay, and you see it right now, okay. And I'm gonna get out of here because I've been here long enough.
Supremacy has been concerned mostly with the black man, white woman. So I think that's the reverse of that. The white man, the black woman, also is a subject. There's no question, it seems to me, that black women, from what I can see, all over, very, very upset and threatened by the growing relationships between black men and white women, and that they oppose it. Now, from the black man's standpoint, I hear a lot of brothers say over and over again that first it was the white man who told them they couldn't go out with white women. Now it's mainly the black woman who's telling them that they can't go out with white women, so that they still feel oppressed. Now, for whatever that's worth, I think that's an important point psychologically for the black man, because is the black woman in this, is she more concerned with her control over black men? See? Or is she concerned with white supremacy and interracial relationships in general?
She's more concerned about control of black men. She's more concerned about control of black men. All this shit is about control of black men. I mean, y'all read, okay? See, Hutch, y'all read the same shit year after year after year after year after year. When are you going to believe it, okay? When are you going to believe it? When are you going to believe it? At some point, okay, what job, see, Hutch, what job can you do in America without education besides being a migrant worker? What job in America can you do without having some form of education? Reading and writing. Huh? If the educated hurt and broken, educated people, if they truly are educated, the thing is, are they really educated? That's number one. They have a certificate, but they're not educated. If educated people are truly broke, they can actually go do what? Learn something else. If you can read, write, and do math, you can learn something else. If you know how to read, write, and do arithmetic, you can learn something else. You don't have to stay in the skill set that you were trained in. You can learn something else. Because the ministry has given me the ammunition over the years. I'm waiting on my investments to grow a little more, and I heard that, as there's nothing that can save this. Nope. The thing is, this is not the problem. The question is, okay, I need to be educated to make fucking money. Should be educated to be educated. Should be educated to be educated. So you actually open up your possibilities, okay? Passport OG was educated. He could actually go to Japan, get a job, and learn a different language because he's educated. Same thing with Mookie. Same thing with a whole bunch of people. Right? My nephew is still operating what I taught him in middle school and high school. He's still operating on those principles. Okay, still operating on them. It's called being educated. So you're saying, so if y'all don't believe, this is the problem. Do you guys believe in educating boys or not? See, Hutch, do you believe in educating boys or not? Or do you think, or so do you think they should go on the same path that they've been going on? Just say forget it. Let these boys not get out of high school and not know how to read or write. Is that what you want? It's not about college. It's about educating your kids. The fact that they can't get into college, not going to college, is a symptom. It's not a cause. It's not the real problem. There's plenty of things you can always learn what is out there to earn a living. Okay. I mean, you want to, but they're going to need 38,000 welders. You can go to welding school if you want to. If you know how to read and write, do math, you can go work on a pipeline, or go work on an oil rig. If you know another language, you can go teach in a foreign country. If you know math very well, you can learn crypto. A lot of ways to make money. There's a lot of ways to make money. The thing is, do you know how to read and write and do math? Because guess what? Tons of ways to make. The Chinese figure it out here all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. How come they can do it? These boys need no, they don't. Okay. They need to be prepared to specific careers do not exist anymore for nobody. For nobody. You want a specific career? Go drive a truck. Learn to be a welder, work on a pipeline, be an electrician, be a plumber. Be an accountant, be a tax accountant. Bottom line is the damage is done. Black people will be endangered species within 100 years. They're already endangered species. You just don't know it yet. Black American, ADOS people, okay, are already endangered. You just don't know it yet. Immigrants don't have an education, but have businesses. Okay, they were a lot of immigrants you don't think are educated. The ones that have businesses are educated. Okay. They know how to read, write, and they know how to do math. Okay, they do. They just don't do it in English. Because even the person in the tire shop, okay, she knows how to run a computer. Okay, she knows how to read. Okay, she knows how to do math. She knows how to make accounting for the bills. She does. Mama does. Okay. And the people that have those businesses that you see, okay, they were trained in their home country on a trade. Okay, they started cooking and cleaning, and they started fixing things and working on stuff when the time they were 5. They were apprenticed. That's an education, okay, and they do know how to read and write. Immigrants not holding degrees is my point. Okay. We're not talking about degrees, okay? Have I said anything about holding a degree at any point in this? What does having a degree have to do with learning how to read, write, and do mathematics? I don't have a degree, okay? So what? Yes, I have taught the public schools for 30 years, now working on another master's degree in clinical mental health to start my own private practices to deal with all of these crazy people. Being educated is the best way to make an informed, logical decision. The manosphere wouldn't be here if it weren't for educated men who did the research. Exactly. Okay. All right. I'm gonna do this. Okay. I'm gonna do this. See Hutch. Okay. You seem to have a lot to say. Okay. You guys are controlled. You guys are construing two different things. Okay. You know, basically, you guys have been around black women so long. You've been around Keisha so long. You're starting to think like her. Okay. Starting to think like her. He doesn't. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know. He's educated, but he's not comprehending what I'm saying. Okay. There's a lot of people that are coming out of college right now, Generation Z, that don't read well and don't do math very well right now. Okay. With a degree. A degree doesn't mean shit if you're not educated. A degree doesn't mean shit. It's like a high school diploma does not mean shit if you're not educated. Just like that girl that got into UConn didn't know how to read or write. She got a high school diploma. What does it mean?
Hey, BGS.
Yes, sir.
Hey, no, I'm like I don't think we actually disagree. I think it's probably a misunderstanding each other. Like, just different.
You keep repeating the same thing over and over again. I never said anything like that. Okay. I don't know why you keep repeating it.
Okay, I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to disagree with you. Whenever you're saying the stuff like about education, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm all for it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not trying to say that I'm against education. Well, I guess there is an assumption that when you get a high school diploma that you actually are educated, but clearly that's not always the case.
I mean, okay. The thing is, I just showed you an example. I just showed you teachers that saying the exact same thing, right? Okay.
Right. I got you.
Okay, you just saw a chick that got a scholarship to UConn. Can't read or write.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it is ridiculous. No, I mean, absolutely ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And the thing is, and they tell you that that's what they do. That's why somebody printed that they're gonna stop the reading and math requirements to get out of high school.
No, you can't do that. It's gonna be worse, if you do that. So.
I mean, when you were going to school, basically anything below below 70 was a D or failing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. That's down to 50%. Why is that?
Yeah, that the curve has went ridiculous. It's no longer a curve. It's more a participation trophy for education.
Education is basically for, especially United States. What are the three things education is school is for?
Child care.
Child care. What's the second thing?
Now you got to tell me.
Socialization. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we sent our kids to school to be socialized. Okay, we teach them at home. Okay?
Yeah.
Socialization. Yeah. What's the third thing? Education is last. Okay. Guess what they've cut out most of? Education.
Right. And so for me, a lot of that stuff is different. Like I'll admit, we homeschool our children because we've seen a lot of these problems in the education system. That's why I'm so disillusioned by it. Like it kind of irritates me. So like we would make sure that our children learn, the critical things that they're going to need in order to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And then we supplement our socialization through cooperative classrooms and programs like that, and in sports and things of that sort.
And you're one of the few people that can actually afford to do that. Most people can't afford to do that.
That's true. And the only reason I can is because I had to get out of the corporate rat race in order to make money for myself, in order to be able to have my wife stay at home so we could raise our kids.
And what percentage of people are you that
rare?
Qualify?
I know I'm in
top 2 or 3%. Yeah. 2 or 3%. No, most people in the top 10 got to work 70, 80 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
A week. Yeah. So they don't have time. So
It's
so
crazy.
thing. What I'm saying is college and boys and men in college is a what? Is a marker. Okay. As you're saying is that the end all be all? No. The thing is, how come these kids are not qualifying for college?
Yeah,
How,
but no, you're right. They, honestly, if you go through and you get a high school diploma, you
mm,
should be able to get into at least a state school, like
yeah,
somewhere.
and now you can. Before you couldn't. Okay, you had to have a
Right.
certain degree. Okay, trust and believe. When I was going to school, if you weren't over a certain level, you couldn't get into a state school. You had to go to
Right.
community college. Okay,
But
now they've
yeah,
lowered the bar so low. Now anybody can get in. Okay,
right. And then like you would have to get a certain score on like either the ACT or SAT in order to be considered, a viable
it used
candidate.
to be. It used to be. They
Yeah.
don't do that no more. But
No. Um, yeah, so it and to a certain the thing is that, well, I think where our miscommunication is, like, you're talking when I'm talking to you now, you're looking at like a true measure of what education is, opposed to the system declaring that you have a certificate that says that you pass something that
how,
may or
how,
may not be
how, how,
education.
how does an employer know when he's taking your application that you meet a certain bar?
Right. And that your degree was supposed to tell you,
It's
your
supposed to
diploma
tell
and
you that,
degree
and
was supposed to tell you.
exactly that. So in other words, other than having your own internal tests, okay,
Right.
which they're starting to develop now because so many kids are bombing out of this stuff when they bring them onto the workforce, they can't trust the colleges anymore. Okay.
Is exactly, and that goes to the point I was making, is that the end game of it is this what you're saying is absolutely true. But what I'm looking at is that because those certificates, the diploma and that degree doesn't mean anything, then um people that probably could be educated are less incentivized to even do it. They're like, why would I
So,
even do it? It doesn't mean
so,
crap.
how, so basically, if you're not incentivized to do it, okay, say you were the top, say you're a smart kid, you're in the top
Right.
10% of kids that can actually do that shit, okay?
Hmm.
Doesn't matter about you. You're gonna find your way anyway. How about the bottom
Right.
90%?
Yeah, they're going to struggle no matter what, because even if they're not getting educated, well, if the system that's supposed to educate them is not actually educating them, then I
Okay,
I really
and
don't
then,
have a solution to that.
then what happens to them? And what happens to the rest of the country?
Yeah, it goes to crap,
It goes to crap. Exactly. That's why
which
they
we're
have to.
seeing. We're
Which
literally seeing it.
is, before we could do it is because we're so far ahead of everybody else. We could actually force the world to pay for us. Okay,
Right.
because there was no competition. That don't exist no more.
Yeah.
They're eating our lunch as we speak. China started educating its kids 35 years ago. Every kid had to be educated. Every single one.
Yeah.
They push STEM on their kids. Every single one.
So with us now, like like the standardized test
Mm-hmm.
that they do, they have set it up where like either one or two things happen. Either they try to eliminate them and say that they're a racial component, they're biased, so they can't use those
Okay.
particular tests,
Okay.
or two, if the students can't pass that test, then they'll shut down the school and just send them to another school. It's
Okay.
just you know
I
it's
mean, I mean, schools that are not teaching the kids are supposed to fail, right?
yeah, but is it really, in some cases, like, is it really the particular school, or are those students just going to end up failing at some other school?
They
You
probably
know?
will. They probably will. At some point, the society has to uh, uh, take responsibility for their children. Okay,
Right,
parents included.
right.
Otherwise, you're gonna keep getting what you're getting. Basically, now that there's no more road for the can to be kicked down, you're gonna now you really people panic because they're actually gonna feel this weight that they haven't felt.
Yeah, it's going to be painful. Like, the next actually the next 10 years are probably going to be pretty rough.
You got to get first. You got to get through this year first.
Right. Yes.
There's so
Yeah,
many.
yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I'm tired. Okay, about this because this population apathy. Y'all don't want to do shit. Okay, I can't afford
Right.
a house. How come you can't afford a house? Price is
Right.
too high. What determines the price? Supply and demand. Okay. How
Right.
come you got 350 million people in this country? Okay, all kind of money, all kind of supplies. Build more houses. China does it all day and 4 times on Sunday. How come you can't?
Yeah, I'm actually in the housing industry, and I do see a lot of that.
You know
And
why? You know why?
mhm.
You should know why that they don't build more houses.
Yeah, there's no need to build more
No,
houses right now.
no, no.
Like what's primarily going to happen here in the housing
Mm.
industry is that the majority of the population, they already know they can't afford, what the average cost of housing, but it's
Well,
not meant for them to buy. It's meant for them to rent.
okay,
Um, yeah,
okay. If it's not meant for them to buy, then why did they tolerate it?
right. That's right. That's a good point.
Why is it not meant for them to buy?
Yeah, I'm like, well,
Who determines that?
the market would actually determine that. So
Bullshit. You know,
uh,
come on, man.
well, I guess you could say the individual can.
No. Who holds the loan on the mortgage?
Oh yeah, you're talking about the banks, the
The bank.
financial system,
And
right?
and the bank, to the bank, the mortgage is an asset, right?
Yeah, it is. Like they're looking at the viability of the risk associated with the
And it
borrower.
asks it, what happens tomorrow they build the double the amount of housing and the price of that asset they have on their balance sheet
Yeah, they don't
gets
want to
cut
see
down
that
by
happen.
40%.
They certainly
Yes.
don't want to see that
And
happen.
see that they don't want to see that happens, right? They want
Right.
to see asset go up, right?
Yeah, that's just definitely another way to look at it. I mean, there's different ways to slice it up, but that is
No, ain't no.
absolutely excellent.
There's only one. I said this shit before Biden got in office. You're either gonna choose the banks or the people. One of the two.
You're
Guess
right.
what he chose?
He chose the banks. They always going to choose it. That's who's funding them.
Why you think just saw somebody buying a house, right? Okay.
Right.
The house he was gonna buy went from $250,000 to $500,000, right? In 4 years. How's that
Right.
happen?
That's true. Now, the one thing I did look at as far as like regulations would it never happen is if they want to incentivize more housing buying, they could reconfigure the conforming mortgages. I mean, it could be
Fuck
done
them.
on a 40, 50-year loans if they needed to,
You
but they're
you were
not going to do it.
you were in business. What's the basic premise of the cost of anything? What is it?
Yeah.
Supply and demand. Why you okay? I always talk about flat screen TV, right? Okay.
Right.
In '98, I'm old enough. In '98, when I went to Comdex, guess what a 50-inch flat screen TV cost? $55,000. What does it cost
Wow.
now?
Yeah, it's
What's it
like
cost now?
400.
Not
It's
even
like
that. 250 on during Black Friday. Okay. Why is
exactly.
that? Why is that? Why do you think that happened?
Yeah. No, it's not as much. Yeah.
The supply
Always.
went
It's flooded.
bonkers, right?
It's
Okay.
flooded. It's flooded.
It's flooded. Okay.
Yeah, that's
If,
true.
if if you flood the market with housing, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah, the price is going to drop.
Okay. How come South Africa built 30,000 houses in a month?
Right. Now, yeah, no, I mean, obviously they needed more houses. There wasn't enough housing in there, and they weren't
Oh
making
well,
enough money.
how come they can do it in a month
Yeah.
and we can't do it in a year? They did it in a month.
Right.
To house people. Do you want to house people or not?
Exactly. So what we are doing though, what I am seeing a lot of doing is
Mm-hmm.
apartment complexes are going up like crazy. Like
Okay.
that's really where it's going right now. So banks are not incentivizing or investors are not looking at putting their money in a lot of single family homes to the consumer direct, but they are going to the investor route where they're looking for rental property. So like if I'm in the DFW area, so if you go any parts here, man, you could easily go to every neighborhood and see an apartment complex being built, like almost in every neighborhood. It's like
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
I mean, is that what people want?
Um, people need housing. We got 400 people here a day.
It's
They
not.
they pref-
Listen
they
to my question. Is that what people want? You understand the meaning of the word "want," right?
yeah, it's like yeah, I do.
Okay.
I
No,
do.
no, no. Now answer my question the way I stated it, and not rephrase my question.
Mm,
Is that what people
mm.
want?
Yes,
They want
people
apartments.
are
They want
they,
apartments
they
over
want
house
they,
over
no,
houses.
not over houses, but they want a place
So
to live.
if they want a place to live, if they had a chance, or if they had a choice, would they choose an apartment or a house?
They'll choose a house every time.
People want housing. Okay.
Yep.
That's what they want. Okay, what they'll settle for is they'll settle for a couch that's out of the rain if necessary. Okay.
Right. But like at the end of the day, it's like they're not getting what they want
Why?
because
Why they're not getting what they want?
they really can't afford it. Like the banks are not
How,
qualifying
how,
for the banks. The banks
how,
are not going to give it to them
how come they can't afford it?
because of the banking
No,
system. Right?
no, no. What controls the price of? So you have to take a loan to buy a flat screen TV.
No, you do not have to take a loan to buy it.
Why?
They
Why
don't,
is
they don't
that?
have because you have the cash to do it. Right.
Yeah, because it's cheap enough, right?
Right.
Okay. Why is it cheap enough? It's because the market is flooded
It's
with supply,
flooded. It's
right?
flooded with supply. Exactly.
Okay. You know what? And I'll say this. I probably shouldn't say this on air, right? Okay. You know how much it costs per day to keep a carrier group out at sea?
No, I have no idea.
$7 million a day. Okay, $7 million
Wow,
a
that's a
day.
lot of
Okay,
that's a lot of cash, yo. Not for the
seven.
U.S. government though.
Multiply that by 365. Okay, that's
Yeah.
like $3 billion, right?
Right.
I, I think it was like 3 billion. Something like that. Okay,
Okay.
$3 billion, right? A
Yeah.
year. Okay, for a carrier group. You got 11 of these. Okay,
Yeah.
a Chinese manufacturer can produce a house for $20,000. Okay, how many
Yeah.
people can you house with just one carrier group?
Hmm. I don't know.
127,000 people can be housed.
Oh
One
wow.
one carrier group. Okay, eliminate
Hmm.
one carrier group. Okay, can
Okay.
be housed if you want to. Okay, restrictions have to be lifted. You got to bow to the Chinese. Say send us some houses, assemble these houses for $25,000. Okay, per. Okay,
Hmm.
127. You 100 one carrier group. 120,000 homes can be built. Okay, assembled. Don't have to be big, elaborate homes. To be modular homes
No.
that you put together, shit like that. House
Right.
people, right? You got 100 and uh, permanent homeless is like 150,000. Okay, the
Hmm.
majority of homeless can be housed for one carrier group. Okay,
Yeah.
do two, eliminate homelessness altogether. What's going to happen to the price of housing if you do
It's
that?
gonna drop. Yeah.
It's going to drop. Okay,
Yep.
it's a Ponzi scheme. Okay, what people? That's why I don't listen to voters anymore about this kind of shit. Stop belly aching to me. Okay, whose government is it? Is it yours or theirs?
Man, it's feeling like it's theirs, man.
Okay. Why is it theirs?
Because we're not fighting for it. We're not going ahead and doing anything about it. We're
And,
just
and,
going
and
along.
we're
The
just going
same
along to get along. Well, then
the same
stop.
politicians have been in office for my entire lifetime, man.
Stop crying. How many times have you been down to their office?
Yeah, that's true. Not a
How,
lot.
how many times have you tweeted them?
Not a lot.
How many times have you emailed them?
Not a lot, man.
Phone call,
Just a few times.
text.
Oh, only a few times, man.
You,
Like you're right.
I,
You're
you know,
right.
well, I'll say this. I'm gonna go. Okay, okay. In real life, I actually do a show with my mentor, right? And she's pro-black. Been pro-black.
Mhm.
If I told you what it is, most people know who she is. Okay, in pro-black sector. Okay,
Yeah.
been doing this for 40 years. Okay, on a show with a guy talk about homeless, right, in Los Angeles, right? Okay, talk about what the city council will and won't do. Okay, for homeless people, right?
Hmm.
And I said, okay, you're downtown, right? Okay. He said,
Okay.
yeah. Where are the homeless?
There. Hey, there's
They're
there's
they're
some.
down.
They're
So in
right
other
there.
words,
They're right
they're
there with
right
them.
there.
Yeah.
So how come when they have a meeting, I think it's like every other week, right?
They never show up.
The homeless are right there sleeping right outside the building. How come they don't show up and walk in?
They never show up.
Why?
Yeah, they're comfortable where they are, I guess.
I mean, if you're trying to organize the homeless, okay,
Right.
and they're right there sleeping outside the building where they hold a meeting, okay, or get there, get them together, get like 20 of them together, walk into the meeting every time they hold a meeting.
Yeah, they should. You should.
You,
If you could get them
shit,
to go. If you could get them to go.
do they do they? I mean, in LA, you probably got downtown LA, you probably got maybe 50, 60,000 homeless people, right? Okay,
Right. Yeah.
you can't get 20 people out of that 50, 60,000 to actually walk into a meeting with a
Or
city
you would
council.
have to actually work to go get them, So like that's probably not going to happen if
Oh,
they
what do you
really
mean work
want
to?
to.
What do you mean what work to go get him?
I mean, like literally walk down there and talk to the people. Like they, you know,
He,
they don't actually
he's
necessarily care.
he's there to organize and advocate for homeless. I mean, he's not down there with them.
That doesn't mean they're down there with man. You know how these people are.
Well then it's bullshit. Stop giving me bullshit then.
A
Okay.
lot of it is. A lot of it is.
Stop giving me bull. That's how come I came to the ministry. I gave up being a pro black, right? Because a lot of times you come up with solutions, and I'm radical. Okay, you can tell I'm a gorilla. I'm radical. Okay.
Yeah.
I come up with ideas that are out of the box. It'll work. The thing is, it's uncomfortable because you have to make some people uncomfortable by doing this shit. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the challenge. You know, you gotta get to the heart of it. Like, and I like that's why I like listening to you because, like, honestly, you took a lot of time and you thought through a lot of these things. Like, whereas in most cases, like you say, a lot of people are just kind of pedestrian about them. They, you know, they think about them as they go. They're not really diving deep into, you know, the crux of it. So, you know, that's kind of where it is. So, I mean, it's a great approach to have.
Yeah, because I was challenged by a brother who was only on my actually one of my patrons, right? Okay,
Hmm.
going back and forth, right? They said, how do you change the black community? I said, it starts by a parent with his mother or father at the age of 3 or 4 years old reading to his child for 30 minutes a day.
Yep. And And you're right. And I've done that with both of my. I got two boys, and I've done that since they were before they could even talk. I was reading to them.
You're reading
So
to them, right? And
mhm.
what is your results, sir?
Yeah, I mean, we got very smart kids. One of them is in college right now, and the other's
Oh, is
in
it
middle
in
school. Yeah.
college? College? Don't talk to me
Yeah.
about college. College? College? You don't need college. College?
Right. Right. Yeah, he's in college, man.
I mean,
So
what I'm saying is, I'm not saying, people think when I say college that every kid should go to college and get a degree or whatever it
yeah,
is. Okay,
there's alternatives.
you could do that. Okay, you could do that. The thing is,
Hmm.
to get into college, you have to have a certain amount of education. Every kid should be educated
Right.
to go to college. Doesn't mean they have to go.
That's true.
If you can get a kid reading and writing to college level, have them do trigonometry, just trigonometry alone, okay? You
Hmm.
beat you beat what 80% of the college woes that you have even going to college. Okay,
Hmm.
read
Yeah.
write. When I first went, I went to a upper middle class white school, right? Okay,
Hmm. Yeah.
my English teacher excused me for half the semester because I can already write an essay as good as she could. Okay, she excused me.
Right.
You really don't need to be here for right now. Okay, because I have to
Right.
teach him how to write an essay.
Right. And you could, a lot of people don't know you could do the same thing in college courses as well too. Like when I was at first enrolled in college, they even though I had the classes on my transcript, they tried to put me in a lower ranked mathematics class,
Mm-hmm.
and I protested against that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, hey, this is math I've been doing since I was
You borged out. Okay, you borged out. All right, you there? Is it me or is it him? No? Okay, he borged out. All right. Give you a couple seconds. All right. All right. He dropped. I guess he borged out. All right, good folks. We've been here 2 hours. We can bounce. All right, give me a like, and we're gonna get out of here. You know, I don't know why this is contentious, man. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, the shit is actually very simple. Okay, every solution to this problem has already been laid out for the last 30 years. It's not that hard. Okay, everybody's pretending like, oh my God, what the fuck are we gonna do? Everybody knows what to do. People don't want to do it.
all right, BJS. Thanks for the convo, man.
Okay, hey, Dr. Neal, this is why I'm doing it. Okay, Dr. Neal teaches at a elite university. He can tell you what I'm saying is 100% true. Okay, elite university. That's where he teaches. Okay, it's Kunjufu has been saying this shit for 40 years. Ain't that hard. Okay, it's not that hard. It's not that. Anyway, let me get out of here, man, because I'll keep it up. Okay. Correct. You can only test out of certain college classes. You can't test out of classes in the junior and senior levels. True. You don't have to test. You don't have to test out of them. But the thing is, it should be no big deal. Credits to credits. Go ahead and take the class, okay? You got to go. You want the certificate? Go through the process. But you would have to be a Spartan in the approach. Good luck, man. The thing is, Sparta. Got to remember, Sparta. The whole society believed in the same thing. Okay. The mothers gave their boys to the Spartans. Okay. They didn't have to go take them. Okay. They passed once they got a certain age. They passed the boys on to be Spartans. Okay. They didn't. It was the whole society agreed on the same thing. Anyhow, let me get out of here. I will see you guys tomorrow.
What can I say? Mamba out.
Muzyka Denis 7.
I'll say this, okay? This is what I try to do for my daughter. Why should I have my kid taking AP classes in high school instead of sending them directly to college? If the kid can handle college, send him to college. If the kid is 12, they can handle college, send him to college. Why do it twice? Why take them having AP classes? Send them to community college, okay? And have them do the 2 years. Makes no sense. That's what I would do. If he can handle AP classes, I'm going to send him to college. That's what I'm going to do. Anyhow, y'all, let me get out of here. And the biggest problem I have with that is the women. Oh, my baby. Fuck all that. If I send a kid at 14 to community college and they can make it and get good grades and handle the curriculum, that's where they stay. If they can't, they come back to high school. No harm, no foul, okay? Instead of AP classes, send them to freaking college instead. Get college credit for that class instead of high school credit for the class. Anyway, let me continue.
Muzyka Denis 7.